Call this meeting to order Wednesday, December 20th, council work session. The time is 7:12. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, visitor comments.
Steve Topaz. I was here earlier today and had some discussions about making the city go forward and watching about the fees and so on. So I was asked to have some more specific questions, so I generated some more specific questions. Basically, they have a common thread, interestingly enough, but basically how to move St. Helens forward. And these are the questions. I'll read through them fast and see if you'll answer. One is, what is the actual cost of the Godfrey Park excavation and the redo? Two, the results of the core monitoring of the cooling pond. Three, the cost of the undistributed Halloween programs. I've asked Jacob's office about the next one. When were the city merchant maps going to be distributed? And that has been pushed back to Shedco. I don't know if Shedco's been notified of that. Also, number 5, what are the results of the request for proposals for outside developers for the waterfront? And what is the present official desired design for the waterfront? That's been changed a number of times. Okay, number 7, how many $20 an hour jobs or plus are expected if St. Helens becomes the Halloween town? 8, how many Halloween town businesses will be owned locally? How many commercial buildings will be owned locally? And also, what is the status of the toxic waste from Portland Harbor cleaning up that's supposedly brought out here to St. Helens? Now, the common thread to all of these questions is these interact with the outside world. So however we handle these or answer these, the rest of the world will somehow take notice of us, and it will either help or hurt us. Do we have any answers to the cost of the Godfrey Park?
Yes, we talked about that today, right after you walked out.
And well, can you tell me what the number is?
Sue?
The total project was approximately 1.3 million.
And that was the overburden removal plus
Yes.
the, okay. How about the core monitoring for the cooling pond area?
I don't have any.
That'll be an Aaron question.
That hasn't happened yet. The reason that question comes up, it's also connected with the toxic waste. One of the possibilities of the toxic waste, Phil, if it slid into the channel, St. Helens would be on the hook for paying for all of the damage done downstream. This was brought up in St. John's, and that would go on forever. The question is, since we own the cooling pond, we St. Helens, if that slides into the Multnomah Channel, we also are on the hook, and the question is, do we know what the ground underneath it looks like? The RFP, have we had any offers of developer to work on the waterfront? And there's been a proposal put forward to have St. Helens become basically a year-round Halloween town. And the question is, how many proposed or expected jobs, and not minimum wage jobs, that's why it's plus $20, would be expected in a development like that?
I don't think it's year-round Halloween town. I think what you're referring to is we talked about leasing the Masonic temple over here, the upper part,
Yeah, okay.
for a year.
Okay, well,
So I think you got that.
how many jobs would be expected in that?
It's
Or
a
have
gift
we run
shop.
a survey?
It's a gift shop.
Just
Yeah.
a gift shop. So we're talking maybe one owner and the rest are minimum wage workers.
Yeah, it's a gift shop, just like any other little, small mom and pop shop
okay.
on Main Street.
So it's not a main generator of employment.
No.
Okay. I thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other visitor comments? Okay, do you want, we'll let you ride. You good? Okay. All right, let's deliberate the street vacation of portion of North First Street. So, I like to first off say that what's being proposed to be left, what I see is a standard street with sidewalks. Better, so that's kind of where I asked my two questions were, what are the street width on this side of the tracks, which are 24 feet, and what is the other side of the tracks with sidewalks on both sides, was 50 feet. It fell within both those. Street standard on this side of the tracks is 24.
Right, and I mean, just to follow up on yours, you know, using Cherrywood as a good example, but it's like the potential for a street to be wider, like say 6th Street, is far greater than the street proposed here. Because it's a collector street. It's like where cars gather, you need more space. But this is a small street with local access. This isn't even Nob Hill. I mean, it's not that many cars to be considered. And
Unless there's more building that happens there, in which case the density would increase.
But that's a reality. I mean, I have family that have lived in the West Hills and see how hills are developed and how things are, to Jacob's point, it's like you have crime prevention by development and you have erosion protection by development. And if it's done right, that it ends up being a secure place, a better place for people to live, more economic development, more footsteps downtown, less blight, because no one's mowing it. No one's mowing it the way it is. I've walked that area for the last 15 years, and I've seen what our, people that gave testimony, I saw what it looked like 12 years ago. And I would be afraid to be down there walking at night, just based on the blight that I saw. And I think that people that want to invest in our community, as a city councilor personally, it's like I feel the charge to be a friend to developers, a friend to builders, as long as not the public good, but not doing the public harm. It's like, no, it's not up to everybody that builds a house to build a park or build, a play structure, but it is up to everybody that builds in our community to not harm the public. And I think that adding more access with all the development that Brad's been down there, it's been that conversation of at what point do we have so many people down there that we need more ways in and out just to be safe. What happens if you can't come up St. Helens Street? How do those people get out? We need to plan for long after we are all gone. So I think I'm based on the staff proposal and the amendments that Jacob gave regarding turning radius and the topographical issues that are in play. I think if all those things are considered, I think there's some wiggle room of compromise here to make this work for the applicant and the people, the neighbors. I think there's a way to make it work.
One of the issues that I have is with the parks. And the parks, I don't know if you know this or not, but the city has added 3 lots north of Great Cliff Waterfront Park. Now, I can't be specific on the date that happened, but it was around 5 to 6 to 7 years ago. Now, that Great Cliff Waterfront Park is not fully developed yet. The purpose of buying that was to create a area in the water because it's water rights. So the city owns the water rights Keith, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he might know this, or anyone in the room on the staff might know this. But it seems to me like that extends from the cul-de-sac area there, I would say 350 feet north of waterfront, and water rights out to the channel. And Brad certainly knows where that ends in that area. So the city owns that, and we purchased that with the idea that that would be a facility for people to utilize in the future. And the question is, where's everyone going to park? And part of the discussion with Parks Commission people has been, well, there is that right-of-way that goes on First Street. Could that be a area where people could park and walk to the park or get to the park? Or could where the parking is now, could that be just handicap and everyone else park in along First Street on that right-of-way and be able to get to the waterfront area on Great Cliff Waterfront Park? So that has been discussed quite a bit with the Parks Commission, and we kind of looked at it, and I mean, the Parks Commission never made any recommendations on it, but something else new has happened, and that's the dog park, and that is within the last 5 years. There is a dog park that has been added to Great Cliffs Waterfront Park, and that's that upper level area. Now, where's people going to park? Another thing has just been and is in the works of being added through a grant. And I might have to refer to Jen at this time because I see you here. Can you elaborate just a bit about that grant, that future grant on what's the building that's going to be in place?
We haven't signed a contract. It's not formalized yet, but we are anticipating a grant for restrooms and improving non-motorized boat launch at Great Cliffs Park.
Thank you. So the restroom would have all facilities, sewage, water, that kind of thing, and that'd be on the upper tier. So the city is postured to develop that area quite some time ago. The question is, where are people going to park? And so that's why my question came up, is when Keith asked the question, he says, you know, what could that street be used for? And I didn't want to debate anything at that point, but I said parking. Parking makes a lot of sense for me in that area. And I know that Brad could very well establish that parking is a problem down there. Now, if you can do that privately, that's one thing, or if we can do it publicly, that's another. I don't know the answer to that question at this point. If I trust that the private sector would make parking available there, or if it needs to be stay public and utilize some parking areas there as well. But it's going to be used by people. People are going to be attracted to that area to launch their kayaks, to do all kinds of things. I mean, in that area. So
you bring up a good point, and the point I brought up about Cherrywood, Doug, was there's rigs parked on both sides, and there's still enough room for easily one car and a large truck, and two cars could pass if they're very careful at the same time. But so there is all that that would still be in that 50-foot that's being proposed. So
there could be, as Jacob suggested, or anyone else suggested, there could be a point where it doesn't need to be 50 feet. It could be 55 feet. It could be 60 feet. It could be any
Absolutely.
number that we
Absolute-
see
Yeah.
to facilitate. What my consideration is parking. I just think that there needs to be parking for people who are going down there. The second thing is ingress and egress in the future for fire trucks or emergency vehicles. That's extremely important. And of course, and I don't know if this got in the way last time, but pedestrian traffic. And today, I think it was brought up today in the work session about the importance of that sidewalk down there on River Street. There's a lot of people are starting to walk, and so there is going to be a need for paths, sidewalks, walkways, those kinds of safe passages for pedestrians. All that stuff falls into place. Privately, I feel really good about vacating this. I don't know at this point if that's all going to fall into place or not.
Listen, what I gotta say is I look at these people's property and they've been maintaining some of our street and they obviously take pride in their places and it looks very clean down there. If we create it, they're gonna do their part on their portion to keep it up to a status quo, in my opinion, with what's already down there and has been down there since 1940, and putting undergrounds and continuing to improve their properties. And reading this Thanksgiving house is a big one for me too. I just gotta, the adult foster care home and wanting to expand. That's a big one for me. Oh, we got a letter here stating. Received on the 19th. Right here. Douglas McEvan, President. McElvin. Anybody else need to?
Sure. I don't have my crystal ball on me, but I know that we are anticipating a lot of development in this area. We don't know what the future density is going to be. We don't know what all of the future developments are going to be. I think I'm reluctant to do any street vacations, and you'll see that by the way I voted in the past on street vacations, until we have a better plan for moving forward and have a better idea of what's coming our way with the waterfront development.
Well, I'm kind of a new kid on the block down there.
Yeah.
I've been 35 years down there. But the only development I've seen down there is what the people that live there have done, period. And Brad has done an amazing job since he's been there, and I don't see where this 15 feet is going to wreck the future for many things, other than it may improve it as far as I'm concerned, because it's going to happen probably faster than later. So I don't have any issues with it.
Kind of two things is the street width will still be there for 50 feet. I look at your very good pictures too, by the way, Jacob. And the reason you got such good pictures is you're standing about 60 feet up in the air on both sides of that bluff. And I'm just curious as if a street did go through there, and it would have to wrap up probably 2 seconds. I could see that happening. 50 foot still there. But my concern would be the policing of that with the it being off the main two roads there. What kind of maybe us creating pathways or streets through there that might create an area of downtown for people to hide too and do criminal behavior and stuff like that. So that being said, it does happen. You do create blind spots for police where people can park and not be seen and do all kinds of things. We know. We've dealt with some of that down here with our Wi-Fi and the showers and the whole works, okay? We've been there. So, but it's still there if it needs to go through. I understand that, you know, having that other route out would be nice. And you can say in 100 years from now, we can continue to push every topic 10 years from now and say 100 years from now on this is 5 years later, and the council did approve it. I'm just talking to myself because I need to deliberate and hear what I'm hearing. The council has approved this one time, 5 years ago. Now we're talking 100 years from now. If it does not get approved tonight, the next owner, or maybe Brad, comes in with his cane and says that I want to try to go for this vacation process. This street's still not in. Well, you know, in 200 years from now, we could have, should have. We have plans for it. We got parks down there. We've got everything else, and we have an opportunity to capture some tax, not a lot. We had $1.90.8, folks, and put more on the, you know, for the county, and it just enhances that whole property down there. So that's just what I'm hearing. I also got to understand that there is a reason that 5 years ago the council approved it, and here we are again. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the whole proceeding because it was after I got elected, but before I took office. And it was an interesting exposure watching that hearing. And that was before any of the development happened. And watching the Planning Commission approve some of the developments down there, the amount of traffic has bothered me. And the idea that anybody visiting the waterfront would be able to make a circle to get out of there in the event that things are backed up seems like a safety thing that the sooner we can do that, the better. I've been down here every weekend in October for the last 3 years, and sooner is coming sooner than we realize with heavier traffic. You know, if people come out here in those numbers in the rain, we're going to start seeing people in those numbers all of July and August. And I just think that having that access, a narrow street, whether it ends up being one way 40 feet or whether it ends up being 2-way and 50 feet with parking on one side, whatever it is, I think it's important to have that access there for the residents and for people that use our waterfront.
Not only the
Pretty stacked.
not only the turnaround in there, but the egress out of there other than River Street. Because
Correct.
if there is a fire, and we all know that, if there's a fire down in a marina, a catastrophic fire,
Right,
there is people trapped,
right.
and fire engines can't get in, fire engines can't get out. I mean, it's now kind of, if you really look at it, it's somewhat catastrophic in terms of safety issues. So having that egress out, I think, is important, up to 2nd Street eventually, and whether that's one way, whether it's 20 feet road or a 20-foot road or any kind of access out to where safety vehicles and first responders have a way in and a way out other than River Street, because River Street could be blocked.
The Blind Hill coming up there on
Yeah.
St. Helens Street.
So
is
anyway,
another choice.
that's an issue. Those are issues in my mind in terms of safety.
Yeah, talking about that access, I was just gonna bring up, we talked about 100 years, 200 years, but little as back in 1996, River Street was inaccessible to the marina.
Yeah,
The marina would have been
Yeah.
on fire, no trucks
That's
would
right.
have got there, so I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, it isn't 100 years we're talking about. We're
no,
talking about
that was a
20 years.
flood, and we'd had to do it the old way with bucket, like in the westerns. You know, yeah, it's been right there.
That's right.
And we can't, earthquake could happen tomorrow. We are in earthquake country. Floods happen. I think there was one other time back in like 48 that it got close to that. 50-year flood. 50-year flood. So
So you're
Yeah.
saying we shouldn't practice prevention where possible? Just wait for an earthquake?
okay, anybody else?
Oh, I had one more follow-up question, because I think with approval or recommendation for approval, there's conditions. You mentioned, I know there's stuff that it only comes up, it doesn't come often enough for me to remember about the tree rules. Because you said there's trees in the zone, trees of a certain size, if they're cut down, da-da-da-da-da. So I want to make sure we address the trees that are in the zone that are being considered.
Oh, yeah, one tree is close, yeah, it's on. One tree is close to where the right-of-way line would be. I don't know if it would take it out of the right-of-way or not, because we don't have it surveyed. It's a large Douglas fir. If it technically falls out of the right-of-way, it's no longer subject to public protection. Because a public tree is on public property or in the right-of-way. One of them doesn't look like it'd be impacted either way. So it's just one of those things to consider, whether or not you think that one Douglas fir is valuable or not, and if you'd want something to find the exact location of it, or if you just kind of let it go.
Can I talk about the trees? I brought this up a few months ago, and
It's okay. No, it's okay.
since we're talking about them, I am old enough to remember the Columbus Day storm. When we have the next Columbus Day storm, those trees are coming down. They are a liability. I guarantee you, they will come down. I know how tall they are. But I guarantee you, they will come down the next time we have a storm like the Columbus Day storm.
Right. I mention them not because I am a tree saver or a tree cutter, but because they're on his map, we probably should make some comment about the tree.
Yeah, it's just,
Or they're just there.
you care about it or not.
Okay.
If it's not a big deal to you, then it's just. But when we look at public interest, it's a very all-encompassing thing, and there's a lot of cities that protect trees very aggressively because of a variety of things, and but every city has a different culture,
But two trees out in the middle of the lot is not an issue. It's not like it's a grove of trees or erosion protection or anything like
It's
that.
just it's a fact that we need to bring up.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be
Yeah.
a proponent or opponent. I just
Okay. Just following up, making sure that if there's something there that we take care of it.
Okay.
So I guess to help formulate your motion, the first thing is approval or denial. Obviously, if it's denial, then we don't have to get into the other details. As approval, we have some of those details to talk about. And so I don't know if you want to do just like a mini poll to kind of see where people are leaning to help move the discussion.
Yeah, we could do that. So who's leaning towards in favor of giving the 15 feet each side?
I am.
Approval of
Me-
15 feet with conditions.
Yep, me too.
Not at this point.
Denial.
Okay,
Okay.
so
So what conditions do we need?
So the next thing is, there's making sure we have the.
You want the radius on the south
radius
end,
on
right?
the alley. So that means we need help from the applicant on the legal description.
Yep.
Surveyors are more typical. And then not granting it along lot 11, block 13,
The
That's
whole
the
block, or you
That
got a
lot.
foot, or what?
that lot.
That lot?
It's where the rock
So
outcroppings
it would
are.
be,
That 58 feet?
the northerlymost 58 feet on that side of the street,
On the east side.
yes.
Unless the applicant decided that he would take away the rock for you?
Now, if the applicant wanted to remove the rock to the city's satisfaction,
It would still have regular turning
that could
radius.
be a condition, but then we would have to discuss, well, how much area do we want?
But that's something you have liberty to do as a planner too, right? A little bit, that little tiny bit, or no?
Liberty to do what?
Well, it'll be he's talking about the city right of way, Wyeth, right? Was where that knob is? Is that right? Wyeth and First meet right there.
Yep. Yeah, there's that 45-degree angle in the rock.
Yes.
That's the corner.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, we can permit it.
I'm familiar with that.
So-
Yes.
So what would happen then is if you wanted to entertain that, we would make it conditional, saying, okay, within a certain amount of time, we want rock removed to the city's satisfaction, and I don't know what that means right now. That's something that we'd have to kind of
Yeah.
brainstorm. But then it delays it for that to be resolved, and we've done that before. So that's a potential. So not allow it, or say we want it done within a certain amount of time, and then we can have the ordinance.
We've been working on that street for 25 years now.
I had a question.
The upper one?
Yeah.
I had a follow-up question. Could you just, because the issue is being able to get around the corner.
Uh-huh.
So instead of saying vacate or not vacate, could you say maintain turning radius? Whether that turning radius means they don't get it at that last lot, or they move the rock so they get it. You know what I'm saying? Because the issue is you want to make sure people can get around the corner. Right?
Well, I guess it becomes a question is what is to the city's satisfaction? Do we want enough room just for non-motorized passage? Or do we want enough for at least one lane?
One
Want
lane
enough for one emergency vehicle?
for sure. Emergency.
or
20
two-way
foot.
traffic.
20
so that,
foot.
you know, where do you want to draw the line in the sand as far as what is the adequate width we're looking for? If you're talking about emergency fronts, generally you're looking at 20 feet.
Jacob, I don't think you're being picked up. I think you're gonna have to come grab a mic.
Oh, thanks, Crystal.
There you go.
Stupid mics.
We had mic issues, just so everybody knows, at that end over there. Actually, it was over here, but
So, no kicks though. I haven't stretched. I don't want to hurt myself. Well, no, even the roadway easement, because the easement could be extinguished and then.
so what do you guys
But if
talk
they,
about?
it depends if they require the easement. We'll get there though. So we could make the vacation along lot 11, block 13 contingent upon removal, and if you want to specify how much traversable area you want, then we can see if the applicant can make that happen in a certain amount of time. And then if it doesn't happen, we just move on with the vacation without that. Or we break into two different ordinances.
Because there is no specific plan, I feel funny making it open and loose like that. I'd rather just take your recommendations
Mhm.
with the turning radius and the block. because there is no plan. And so why would we give extra vacation for a plan we've never seen?
No, we're not giving extra. What I think what
No,
they're
staff
saying
report
is this
recommends-
circle.
Right, at the circle at one end, yeah, and the other end, that lot where the rocks are, is, he's saying, well, if we move the rocks, can we have that? And it's like, well, there's no plan in place, and it's like, I don't know, it seems a little arbitrary. I'd rather keep the vacation clean the way it is.
That's kind of why I was looking at, do we split that lot? I mean, does it have to be the whole 58 feet?
You could be creative and make it an angle or something like that. I'm just trying to maximize I'm trying to minimize the obstacles. And it's simple to just say, don't grant it along that one lot. It's, yes, no, that's correct, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but how close are we going to have to be to that corner to have proper passageway? That's the question. So you could be creative and do angles or something like that, but then what is that really gaining you? I don't see how that's gonna, if the basis is parking, that section has nothing to do with the Thanksgiving house, and if you have a wedge that's next to an RV space, I don't know how through site design you're going to be able to get that to even be much of a parking space. So it kind of becomes, what are you really gaining from an odd shape there? And it's only about 9% of the total linear footage of the vacation, that one lot. So anyways, those were the two conditions. And then there's the easement question. Now, as far as the easement is so reserving a public utility easement, that's our recommendation. And that would be for current and future easements. And it's very typical for subdivisions to have a public utility easement along the right-of-way line. And it can vary in width. So that's not really weird. I don't know. I mean, we have correspondence from the PUD that says, please reserve an easement. We would like that as well. We didn't get response from Northwest Natural, but looking at the map from 2012, it shows they have infrastructure in there. Comcast, I think, asked for an easement. So unless you have something in writing from all utility companies that specifically says we don't need it, or they've made arrangements to have site-specific easements, I think it's reckless for us not to require public utility easements, to be honest. If not just for our benefit, for the other utilities. So that seems, to me, that's not optional. If the applicant wants time to work with the utilities and get down to the specifics and maybe have very detailed legal descriptions, maybe that's something we can do. But notwithstanding that, I think we need public utility easements along the entire area. So that's a consideration, and that would be, within a certain amount of time, give us those details and work that out. And then the other question, and this is the one, the heartburn question is, do you require a road easement or not? And what Andrew was getting at is, why do you need the radius on the alley if you have the road easement? And that's something that I had thought about. And, easements can be extinguished. I think that radius would need to be there regardless, because right-of-way is right-of-way, and there's a difference between right-of-way and easements. Oh, it wasn't? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Can I misquote you more? No. Yeah, that's pretty clear, yeah. So it's the roadway easement. That's the part where I'm like, well, if you want the roadway easement, what's the point? We don't have a plan. So it's kind of, it's a question, if you don't require it, is there a noose and are you tightening it? And we don't really know until we have a design of the future. And so, you know, it's a little bit of a gamble whether or not you require it or not.
Okay.
Or you could say, well, oh well, it's more complex. We'll just require the easement, and you know that's what we'll do. It's your decision.
What do you guys think?
So, you were saying you don't care if there's an easement on it?
No, that's fine. Public utility, for utilities.
Okay.
To me, the roadway easement doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's a 50-foot right-of-way with called for in the TSP. In my opinion, what's the point of the TSP?
It's not easy with a war.
Are you guys done talking? That's true. Yes, you're right.
About the utility easement, though, in my opinion, for what it's worth, it should be like an 8-foot public utility easement, which is pretty typical. And the reason I would say that is on the applicant.
You're supposed to actually be on record, Andrew.
The problem is, where are the utilities? Show me exact proof where the property line and the utilities are. If we don't have that, we're gambling. We're gambling with utility access, and we would be a laughing stock of other cities if we did that. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we have to leave the easement there because of protecting ourselves.
Unless we have exact data on the specifics of all infrastructure.
And he'd have to have Comcast sign off, PUD sign off, us come out and do locates, make sure that we have that.
To be responsible as a city, that's what
Okay.
we would need.
And so you're recommending leaving that and the 2 circle areas with the alleyway, right of way.
Yeah, the radius, and then excluding the one along lot 11, block 13. Now, we could reserve the public utility easement, and they could always replace that later on.
With something more specific.
Yeah, that's something they could work on at their leisure.
That can be put anywhere.
And then that easement's extinguished and replaced with specific ones.
Sure, like what Megan had to do, tolls.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So, if I could make one little comment, one thing I haven't heard yet talked about was the, we don't know the road, 50 feet, 60 feet, whatever the width. What we do know that it's on a cross slope, and that a lot of times there are slope easements and at least a construction easement during the construction of the project that can be just for access to get to property to do the public improvement piece of it that may want to be added as a condition. So you might probably speak to that.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. There's been a little bit of discussion about the street in Cherrywood and some of the new roads being constructed.
Mm-hmm.
Those are streets that didn't exist. This is an originally platted road that was, they just platted it out on a piece of paper.
Yes. Yeah.
So there was never an actual roadway constructed there. But nowadays, like the Cherrywood subdivision, the new Emerald Meadows subdivision, you have a large piece of land, and they go in and they grade out the whole thing. They don't care if they're grading out, 40 feet wide or 150 feet wide. They have to grade it in order to get that roadway in, and then they dedicate the right-of-way with the roadway improvements within it. I mean, obviously, they build it to where they intended the roads to go to, but those roads and rights-of-way are dedicated after the construction is in place. So now what we're talking about is trying to go in and exactly, John, what you pointed out, the elevation and the topography constraints that you have there, and just trying to build the road to the standard that is in our TSP and build it within the confines of a 50-foot right-of-way without having any access to do grading or potentially having to build retaining walls or something in order to confine those improvements within that 50 feet. So yes, those improvements will probably be able to go within the 50 feet. But how do you construct it if you don't have the ability to go outside of the 50 feet? So I don't have an
If it
issue.
was a long stretch, if it was a quarter mile long, I could understand, but it's not, what is that, how many lots is it? 1, 2, 3, 4,
Well,
5 lots?
it's a very challenging area because you've got
I
huge
understand, yeah,
elevation
it's challenging
differences.
No matter what.
I don't have,
According to the pictures.
I'm fine with doing, I mean, me personally, I'm fine with vacating that as long as there's, like Jacob is saying, some sort of condition or permission, easement, whatever it is, to allow the construction and grading within those areas in order to be able to build a street to a city standard within the remaining right-of-way.
And that's covered under a public utility easement.
No, the public utility easements, one, it would be some type of road easement. And we'd have to work with our legal people to have it written right because it's not a common thing.
Yeah,
But so that's, you know, and that's my personal opinion. And it's just one opinion that if we need the road easement, then why are we giving up right of way? Because that's why we have the right of way. There are, you know, it does give them some advantages, especially the residential lots. It's going to help them with their yard requirements, which if they get 50 feet, chances are all those houses will comply with the 20-foot setback that would be required from First Street. And that's going to help the Thanksgiving house, even though it's easement, because we discussed it with the Thanksgiving house before when they were going to have the easement. And I don't remember all the discussions, but it would help them. I've also seen successful setback and density variances since 2012, so that is an option. Too, you know, that's a side issue from the vacation. So it could benefit them some, but like I said, I'm trying to be totally objective, and the question here is public interest.
Yes.
Public interest.
I'm okay with that, with the street, you know, I mean, the vacation of grading, because I think it's, you know, you don't want to get on their property that you give to them and then get sued. I think that should, you know, if you do a little bit of damage, I think I'd be okay with that too. It just seems like kind of goofy, but you said it's rare and you have to get together and get it drawn up. But
You're talking about the road easement? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah. The easement for us to have the easement for grading. Does that make sense? Because say our grader gets in their easement, if we award them this, and our grader gets in their 2 or 3 feet in their easement, and we accidentally take out some asphalt that's been sitting there since 1940. All of a sudden, yeah, I'm going to sue you. Nope, it's in the easement. We have that ability to do that. That's what Sue's talking about. Am I correct, Sue?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And I've seen that in the past done as a temporary construction easement that, you know, we have the right to, you know, that's not ideal, but it's a temporary thing until the project gets done and the property lines kind of go back together.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the same, yeah, it would accomplish the same exact thing.
I would love to see that a road go through there with sidewalks and parking on one side or either side, or one-way road or two-way down. One sidewalk on one side gives you two parking spots and plenty of room to have 2 cars going each way. Cars on both sides. Plenty of room. So I think, is there anything else that the staff recommends for, because you kind of see how we're going with this over here, us three, not these two, but us
I
three.
didn't say that.
We just took a poll.
You're ending up exactly where I wanted you to end up.
We took a straw
as far
poll.
as I was concerned, not
We
at
haven't
that
voted
point.
yet. We just took a straw poll.
Yes.
It was worth having a conversation about conditions.
Yep.
That's all.
No, so, yeah, public hearing is closed and we can't have no more come on it, so it's unfortunate that that's the way it is. They should have been here at the public hearing. Or
I
track
said
record.
without a plan, and right now we don't have a plan over there. I think we need, well, I already said that.
So,
Here's what I think the motion is based on the discussion.
yes, okay.
Allow the vacation as proposed.
Mhm.
Make sure we have the radius at the alley. The applicant provides a legal description for that. The one place we're not going to allow it is along Lot 11, Block 13.
Jacob, just another comment on that. You realize that RV space is 35 feet along that property line there? Oh. So I was looking at the RV space is right next to that, which is over half the lot already. So, I mean, why don't we just say, but the last 25 feet or 30 feet of lot 13, whatever lot it is.
I support it the way that Jacob stated it. I like the clean way that Jacob has it stated.
Oh, I see. I can see it on the picture there. The tail end of that RV is actually in the.
Yeah, it's the RV park's not in this picture.
No, you have to look.
Oh, it's the newer one that he's talking about.
Go down a few pictures. Or up. Yeah, down.
Okay,
Go on, keep going.
the newer one.
Right there. Okay, see that RV spot there?
That's not an RV spot, is it?
Where that RV is?
Yes.
Yeah, well, right next to it. That's that RV. You've got a legal right to put a 35-foot RV in there, right? Right. No, but I mean that's what I mean. You could put a 35-foot trailer right there. Yes. That's what I was saying. So, I mean,
The site design for that encompassed the entire width of the lot because it had parking in front of the RV space to make it work. It was a tight fit.
Right.
So if you look at the approved site design, there's really not much room to fudge. My recommendation is going to be cautious because I represent the
Yeah.
public.
Yes.
okay, no big deal.
Can I
Okay,
ask a
Jacob. So
question?
you were starting to give us legal descriptive.
Okay,
of
so-
easement for the radius of the alleyway, 11th.
Accepting that portion, that's the one place that it wouldn't be allowed. And then reserving a PUE.
Mm-hmm.
And then public utility easement, sorry, acronyms. We use them too much in government. And then the road easement, which makes sure we have the rights to be able to do what we need to do.
Grading.
Grading construction.
Yes.
And let's see, grading construction, is that? Construction easement. Yeah, we'll have to work with our legal people on that. And those would be reserved over the entire area is vacated.
May I ask
Okay.
a question?
Sure.
Jacob and Sue, with the recommended easements, both the utility and the road construction and the exception on the end of that street, would there be room for a two-way street, including sidewalks and parking?
Yes. Yes, the parallel parking, the 50-foot right-of-way accommodates all those
Okay.
based on the standard.
Thank
And I will mention, if it's a temporary construction easement, I feel a lot better about it. Before, my assumption is that it would be a road easement for permanent public infrastructure, and that was the point where, what's the point? If it's temporary, that's a little different animal, so.
Okay. That addresses part of my concerns.
Can you read what you have in complete?
Sure. To allow the vacation as proposed, except for the portion along Lot 11, Block 13, with the requirements as follows. We need the radius for the alley, and with a legal description from the applicant for that. Because we can usually do it, but the radius is weird. And reserving a public utility easement over the entire area is allowed to be vacated, and then reserving a road construction easement over the entire area is vacated.
I'm going to motion that we accept what you just read as accepted by the council, so that's my motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the various easements, the PUE, the road construction, the alley easement, the 11 and 12, and everything Jacob have just discussed. Because that's a lot. All in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimously.
You never give me simple applications.
So, being as how I got you guys here just for a second, what if, with that park being down there, is there any way we could tie a, try to get a grant for the parking to help create part of the street cost? If it was designated publicly for, like Doug was saying, a street we're going through there. You know, that is true. We talked about a handicapped dock down there too. Yep. Yep.
It's just a thought. I mean, my father and I thought about that a long time ago, and it's always been.
You've heard a lot of talk about what's going to happen in the future, and we don't know. I mean, you know, especially this 100 years out talk, I have no idea what's going. I don't think any of us can fathom.
You know what? They're gonna laugh at us.
But you
Doug.
know, but one of the things.
It's going to be flying cars, autonomous. It's going to be you hop on a bus and the cars are going to be rarely even used. They're going to be, look at all these guys. They created all this parking back in the day. What a waste. Well, look where we're at now.
But part of what we have to do is try and look at the future.
Absolutely. Yep. To the best of our ability. Yep. Wasn't trying to cut you off. It struck me as funny. I just went to the leadership summit and that's what was brought up was flying cars. It was. Yes, it really was. Yep. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I think that ends our deliberation there. Resolution. Public Public comments. Proposed. Okay, resolution, public comment, proposed increase in planning department fees. Any public comment? Jacob? Excuse me. Jacob? I think you're being, we're proposing, I just opened it up for public comment.
Okay, so I guess I'll. So the one thing that came up before, so we didn't have public comments apparently. There was a question about Scappoose fees, and they do have a fee schedule. I'm sorry. They do have a fee schedule that would be effective mid-2018, and based on that one, for the high-value project we talked about, theirs would max out at $6,600. Ours would max out at $5,000. and generally Scappoose is more expensive than ours. There's a few of ours that are a little higher. But that was the question that was asked before, so
Yeah,
hopefully that
appreciate it.
satisfies your curiosity.
We get asked a lot,
Sure, yeah.
so.
Something we've talked about in the past, and I don't know if we've ever resolved it or not, but that maybe there's I know we do have some sort of payment methods and whatnot, but is it in writing now, or do we actually have a payment method, or a different way of paying instead of all fees up front, or what's that about? Because we've had discussions on that in the past.
I have, in my 16 years as a planner, it's always been up front for land use fees. I've never dealt with payment methods. I guess if someone, like let's say we had a medical hardship and someone didn't want to pay the few $100, maybe we could work something out, but we don't. I've never had to deal with that, so I really don't have a good answer for it. And if it came up and they said, well, the one thing we have had happen is someone says, well, please waive our fee. So they come to the council and you waive it or not.
When we have done that,
Yeah.
I think once or twice.
So I suppose if someone felt that they had a financial issue, they could ask for the fee to be waived, reduced, or to set up a payment plan, in which case we would talk with Matt and see how that could work.
Do you remember what we talked about in the past, Doug? Since you're
Which time?
about payment fees for different permits and STCs and all that type of stuff that
Yes.
we talked about in the past. But so apparently nothing's ever been developed. I was just wondering if we want to write something like that into our actual code so that people know that that can happen, because that may or may not. I mean, I guess everybody would probably come and ask for it at that point in time, but is that a make or break thing, or we just had somebody here talking about, hey, let's be friendlier? Well, that would be a way of being friendlier and still get the same amount.
I'd like to refer to Matt a bit on that too. You got any comment on that?
We do have payment plans currently, like for SDCs and local improvement districts, for
Right.
6 or 7 of them. I will be honest with you and tell you they are a complete nightmare to try and track and get people to pay, which I'm having trouble with currently. And it's a real pain in the issue because other than going through the foreclosure process, which will cost thousands and thousands of more dollars, and it will take a year or two or so for us to even see anything. So I personally am not a huge fan of any kind of payment plan, just because it creates a lot of issues down the road. Even if it is in the best, you're trying to do a good thing and give people an opportunity and everything, but there's too many negatives, in my personal opinion, to any kind of payment plans. And where I've worked, and I haven't been, as long as Jacob, but I've worked in a few other cities, and at Forest Grove and in the city of Hubbard, there was no payment plan or anything for land use and in planning fees. It was all paid up front. I think that's a very common thing among cities, that at least that I am aware of.
Now we know why.
Right.
They can't afford $5,000.
Yeah, I mean, these fees aren't a whole lot, but when you add everything together, though, it does become a lot. And I'm just going by what people have come in here and said before. That's passing on the.
That's why I asked that, are we comparable to Scappoose? Because if our changes make us not comparable to Scappoose, then we need to think about that. Right, we just want to be competitive with what our like-kind quality kind of thing. That's our neighbor, so people, if they're deciding whether they want to be close to Portland or not as close to Portland, you want to not make cost a deterrent. So.
Okay. All right. Resolution number 1808, a resolution of the St. Helens City Council to set planning department fees.
Move we approve resolution 1808.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution number 1808. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, public comment, proposed increase in utility rates. Seeing none. Matt?
The only thing I wanted to add is there is a new exhibit that was should be sitting on your counter there. It includes the amendment that Ginny discussed during the work session
Oh, yeah.
of removing the $100 deposit for rental properties and then adding that 3 late fee issue per 1 month of the whatever that monthly service is for that
And you
account.
got Neil's stuff.
And
taken care
we did add at the very end of the very last page the shut-off
Good.
attachment
Yep.
valve
Yep.
for the water meter,
Good.
in addition to anything else they break if they do. So
Move we approve resolution number 1809.
Second?
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution number 1809. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Okay. Award push camera purchase to general equipment for $10,800.
Move we move to approve to award the push camera purchase to general equipment for $10,800.
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded to award push camera purchase to general equipment for $10,800. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Looking forward to that. Approve and authorize for signature. A, agreement with City of Portland for field and lab analytical services with WWTP. B, extension of agreement with E2C Corp for special event management. C, agreement with Oregon State Marine Board for repair of boat use to access Sand Island. And D, contract payments.
I move that we approve and authorize for signature 8A through D as read.
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded to approve 8A through D as read. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Okay, appointment to city boards and commissions.
Planning Commission has one term that is expiring in the end of this month. It's for Al Peterson.
We have
Two.
Russ.
Two. Russ Hubbard and Al Peterson. Russ Hubbard, it's only his second term, and he elected to continue, and the commission recommends that we allow him to do so. Al Peterson, it's his third term, so as per our ordinance, we put out and interviewed candidates. We got one very qualified candidate, so qualified that both the commissioners that interviewed her wanted to create an additional position for her as alternate because she has new and unusual experience. And Al wants to continue. So the Planning Commission's recommendation is that Al continue and that we create an alternate position. But in talking to Jacob, that involves some stuff that he's going to talk about.
What's the name of the other one?
Russ Hubbard.
No, what's the alternative?
Alternative.
The lady, the other applicant.
Julie. I remembered her name was Julie, but I couldn't remember her last name.
Julie Stenberg?
Yeah.
Sure. Yep. And why were they so moved to want to create this other alternate position? Is she that qualified, or?
She has different,
Yes.
different experience than any other member on the council that they thought was valuable.
Mm-hmm. You're just having troubles tonight.
I think they need to be all turned up just a hair.
Yep, but
So, where was I?
Cash.
It's
I was asking about qualifications for.
yeah. So she's currently a paralegal for the county, and she's worked in a lot of legal cases. We talked to her. She was worked on casinos, and so there's a feeling that, especially with our waterfront stuff, her background could be valuable.
So right here, I want to stop. They want to clear up. They want to establish a non-voting.
Yeah.
A reserve member. So basically, that means if someone's vacant, then they fill in that seat. So it's like contingency against not having a quorum. So you have an interesting decision to make.
We have rules for this.
Yeah.
We do have
We
rules.
created them for a reason.
And yes, and the planning commission was, this is their creative way of dealing with it. Basically.
This is going to be our creative way of getting in trouble again.
So you have it puts you in an interesting position. You can, if you want to, well, Russ Hubbard is pretty much a given. So that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have the two motions of the commission. You can say yes to Al. And if you say yes to Al, then you can say yes to exploring amending our code to have a reserve member, basically. And then this Julie, once we do that, would be that person. Or, because it is ultimately your decision with the mayor's appointment, you can say, well, the purpose of those rules is for changeover, and if you have someone, maybe it's time for that. So you get the hot seat on this one.
Yeah.
It feels like it would be circumventing the current rules to avoid hurting somebody's feelings.
Well, that's the hot seat you're sitting in.
So
like,
we have an
Can I
ordinance
make
that's
that a
already.
motion?
We have an ordinance that's already written. It basically says at 2 terms, if you're going for your third.
Then it's wide open.
Mm-hmm.
How to deal with that with our Parks Commission. And Debbie Corsilio was chairman of our Parks Commission for years and years and years, and part of the Parks Commission for years. And then we passed this new, Keith, we passed this new ordinance so that people would rotate,
Mm-hmm.
so that we would create more leadership kinds of scenarios in our community and amongst our committees and commissions. And that was tough. That Debbie just saw that coming and ended up resigning. And I think, that was very tough because she was very good at what she did. She was a strong part of that. And I had to deal with it. And it was, it was kind of all on my shoulders because we worked through crafting that ordinance for that specific purpose. And in some senses, I think she felt that it was against just her, pointing to her. It wasn't. It wasn't at all. And hopefully Al, if this goes the way I think it's going to go, hopefully Al doesn't feel that way as well. It's for the better good. It's for the ordinance that we passed.
Yep.
I
I
just had to say that because I've dealt with it on a commission.
And I would hope that he would take it that way and not take it personally.
Yeah, I mean, in 5 years, you know, I was glad to have him on the planning commission because learning the ropes. I don't know if I shared with everybody here, but in the first 2 years I was on the planning commission, I went and sat with him before and went over the agenda and talked to him about it. I learned a lot. So, you know, he is a valuable resource to this community. He's participated in so many committees, so many extra plans, given up so many hours of his own time and his own expertise that is really valuable and has really helped us on a lot of these parks plans, trail plans, corridor plans, waterfront planning. And he's given a lot. And I don't want to undersell all that he has dedicated to our community. But in the same token, Julie was so excited and so enthusiastic and so knowledgeable. I can see why, because it was Greg Cohen and Audrey and I that interviewed her. And I could see their reluctance to let a friend go when they see somebody that has so much potential. And, you know, we're looking at a kind of a window of change in our waterfront planning. And it just seems like this, like to Doug's point, the ordinance was written for this. When somebody awesome comes along, it doesn't lock you into the other person.
New blood.
So I'd like to make the motion that we reappoint Russ Hubbard to the Planning Commission and appoint Julie Stenberg to the second position.
STMBER.
Stenberg.
Stenberg. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve Russ Hubbard and Julie
Stenberg.
Stenberg to Planning Commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none? Okay.
There was
consent-
another Parks Commission has,
What was that gal, right? That never came through, that we tried to approve, but we couldn't legally.
yeah, so they want to reappoint Elisa Mann and John Brewington, reappoint him.
Okay.
And then they want to appoint Carmen Dunn to fill Philip Roddy's term.
Can you mention those names again?
Reappoint Elisa Mann and John Brewington, and appoint Carmen Dunn.
Okay, I move that we accept Kathy Payne's request for appointments as stated.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded to approve the names for Parks Commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Any other? Okay. Consent agenda for acceptance. Parks Commission minutes dated October 9th, 2017. B, Planning Commission minutes dated October 10th.
I move we accept consent agenda 10A through B as read.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda A and B. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Consent agenda for approval. A, council work session, public hearing and regular session minutes dated November 15th, 2017. B, animal facility licenses. D, declare surplus property, various items. D, accounts payable bill list.
Move we approve consent agenda 11A through D.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda A through D. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Not much to report other than it was good Christmas time down here with the Christmas tree lighting and stuff, and you know, it was mentioned the bonfire, and there was people kumbayaing around the fire, and those Christmas shifts just kept going, and the crowd was just really alive down there. It was an atmosphere that there was a lot of energy down there, and you could feel it from the boats too. They could see us because the fire was so large, and I think that might have maybe created them sticking around a little bit longer too.
I took a photograph of that because I was on the wall there, and
Mike.
kind of got up and took a shot of that, and then looked looked at the photograph or looked at the image on my phone.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was so dead compared to what was going on there, because I agree with you, there was just a vibe
Yeah.
that was happening, and sometimes you want to capture that vibe in your image. Never happened. You know, saw a lot of lights and that kind of thing, but it was exciting down there.
I always hear a lot of excitement about our bonfires.
Yes. I will bring this up, just so it's brought up, because it came to me by a citizen about the wood, and we did pick it out. I explained to him it wasn't that much. So, future, we need to make sure no pressure treated or laminated wood goes in that file at all. It was, exactly was. I wasn't going to mention no names. I wasn't going to mention no names. but
Way to
that's who it
go,
was.
Howie.
Yep. He actually called on us. He is the one. So he was forthcoming. So that's all I have.
Good on him. Wood on him.
Council President Morton.
Oh, a big thanks to Al Peterson for all his work that he has done on the Planning Commission. I think it's hard for anyone to leave, and Jacob said something about going to war with people and kind of staying with them and that kind of thing. Well, they can be friends for a long time, but there is such a thing as your end of tour of duty, and anybody who's been to war always looks forward to that. And but he's made very good friends in his role as he's led that group for I don't know how many years, but he's been here ever since I got on. Yeah, 8. Yeah. Anyway, congratulations to him. And I like what happened tonight, because I like the whole idea of the. It wasn't as civil as I wished it could have been. A little bit of dissension, but I like the outcome. However, how we got to the outcome was kind of a good way. There's a lot of good discussion going on. I like that. So hopefully we made the right decision, and that area down there will continue to grow and continue to be looked at in terms of planning. And there's a lot of development. I think Brad hit that on the nail on the head, saying, hey, you can park out on the water. And, you know, how many of us have thought of that? And there's
I've actually seen him park under the water a couple times.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's got to put on the e-brake.
Anyway, I like what happened tonight.
All right. Councilor Khan.
We've had a request from the Columbia Arts Guild, who have officially finished phase 1 of the secure cabinet displays. They have their 501c3 designation, and they're writing a grant to complete phase 2 of the secured display cabinets for the Columbia Center. And they would like to request that we give them a letter of support for the grant by the 30th of December, and I'd like to recommend that we do so. They're not asking for any money, they're just asking for a letter of support.
I concur.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Good.
And other than Merry Christmas, that's
Yes.
all I have.
Merry Christmas.
And I do have one thing that to follow up on my report today about the department head evaluations. Ask Kathy if you want to look at any of the public works evaluations and goals that were set in, rather than me passing them out to you, whatever. Just ask Kathy; she has them on file.
Okay.
So you're welcome to it.
Thanks, Doug. Councilor Carlson.
Two things. John mentioned earlier that, and I talked to 2 business owners after I left here earlier about the merchants meetings coming up after the first of the year, creating more opportunities for merchant partnerships with the city. I'm looking forward to that, and people should watch for those dates. I just can't say enough how much I know that we're talking about Al tonight, but I can't say enough how grateful I am for Alan Kanika's contribution that they've made to this community. I really can't say a big enough thank you to both of them, because their expertise and their dedication is really to be admired and be appreciated. And I look forward to seeing their next chapter and ways that they contribute, because they obviously see that service is an important value. And I appreciate that. I wanted to, I had a minute to speak to Doug earlier, and I just really appreciate his voice on this council. He brings just a different perspective, a different litmus test. And I just want to just appreciate him here. Just thanks. Christmas is a time to appreciate things. And I just wanted to say thanks, Doug, for all that you do for this committee and for your voice. And I just really appreciate you as council president. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Locke.
So just a couple updates on the mill site, Cascades, and the new grow operation. Cascades, I went to their Christmas dinner the other night because I happened to be a spouse. And their main guys were talking about their plans in the future and whatnot, and their long-term plans are okay. They're planning on being around for a while.
That's good.
But saying that, I know that this week they're working on checking out the ground underneath the clarifier, doing radar and all that kind of stuff to see how much money they're going to have to spend on that clarifier to get it up and running again.
Oh, to get it back to solid ground?
Yeah, so hopefully that'll come out okay. We'll see. And other than that, our new tenants out there are having, I've talked about this before, about issues with the OLCC, and that was one of the things that Jason from the governor's office talked about helping us with and whatnot. So I'll probably be contacting them and see if we can't push some strings to get that going through.
Yep. I was just getting ready to call on Junior Councilor David.
So at our last meeting, we had talked about the two events that we have previously had, which was when we were helping out at Donut Day, which we were handing out helmets to people who were driving through, and we actually gave away all the ones that they had.
Nice.
And then the second event, which we were selling reflectors at, was the Christmas Bazaar that was being held at the high school, which we didn't sell a lot, but I don't think that was much of an issue because we did sell some. And one of the other things that we had talked about at the meeting was, I'm pretty sure you've heard of the DARE program.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about making a DARE program, but it would be held by students, for students. So it'd be a kid-on-kid contact between teaching kids about drugs and how bad they can be.
Yep.
And that's
Nice.
Good for you.
Yep. Well, you know, kids relate to one another more. You know, when they get a parent trying to tell them, it's just like it's always the same. You know, yeah. Brush your teeth, eat healthy, all that. They don't want to hear it from us.
Yeah,
But
you're more
from a
listening.
friend, it makes a difference, and just to know that somebody cares and takes that time. I think if you get involved with that, you'll find great joy in that. So I'm glad you guys are doing that. So
I think kids are far more likely to listen to their peers.
yep. Yeah, I'm getting ready to. Oh, good job. Okay, Counselor. Thanks, David. Department reports. Not Jacob, but Sue.
I'm coming over here. I don't trust these other mics. Councilor Locke, I just wanted to give you a brief update. After the afternoon session, I did email to the owner and the engineer for the new RV project down on River Street regarding the concerns about the sidewalk construction. And that did happen to be our applicant and owner of the property for the street vacation. but they responded immediately and said that would not be a problem, and then followed that up with an email to their contractor and asked the contractor to specifically make sure that that sidewalk remained clear for pedestrian passage. It was important to make sure that people could travel safely on that, and that they did not do any destruction of the existing sidewalk until they were ready to immediately start on the reconstruction of the driveway entrances. So just want to let you know that they're aware of that, and gonna hopefully they've been very good at following through on what they say they're gonna do. So
Thank you.
I have no doubt that they'll be doing that. And other than that, Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm
Thank
out
you.
of here for Idaho until the first of the year.
Have a nice vacation. Yep. Neil.
The only thing I got is also a question that was asked, I guess, by Councilman Locke when I'd step out for a little bit, but he wanted to know how the ugly cement barriers came about at the end of River Street. As I recollect, and it's probably been 15 years, and I'm bad on time frame, but at least probably that. The Calanon's driveway basically gave away there. It's what we had on hand to fix it so they could, get to their house. And they've been there ever since.
Oh, no, they moved them from down below to up above now, where the little trail that kind of makes a shortcut from.
Yeah, we
up
didn't
above.
do those. The only ones we did were the two that are down there that are actually in the ground. I'm not sure where the other ones came from
Yeah.
or why they
yeah,
came.
maybe-
I don't
maybe.
think that was something we did.
Kevin, right? I think that's a contractor at Worship. right?
Yeah.
He probably just set them there or
He
something.
might have just set them there, but the only ones we put there were the ones that are actually holding up the road.
Right.
That I recall. Yeah, well, I can talk to the contractor and see why they're there and if they're needed there, but I don't
Yeah.
know why they're needed.
Well, yeah, when they put the retaining wall in, they just moved them up above where that little trail cuts the corner there and
Yeah,
whatnot. And
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
Margaret.
I don't have anything to add. Thanks.
Matt. Kathy. Okay.
Couple things. Just want to make sure my mic is working.
Have mic issues.
I will
Yeah.
try to pay closer attention to that for you.
I really do
Yeah.
want to emphasize how important this is, and I'm
Yep.
thankful that Crystal was looking at Granicus from home to let me know that you really do need to speak directly into your mics. You can't have them off to the side or anything like that. And when people are talking out in the audience, there's no pickup at all.
Yes, and
Yeah. So for the actual documenting of a meeting, I need this to happen. Also for transparency, so that everybody can hear. Crystal is having to turn up the volume when somebody's not speaking into their mic,
When they're off,
and then turn it down when somebody's speaking into their mic. So it's very frustrating. So I understand that, and I just want to let you know that I will be speaking up more
Yes.
when it's not happening. And I appreciate very much everybody who does notice and starts telling somebody to speak into their mic. The other thing is we finally today determined that we're going to have the annual employee banquet on February 9th. And it'll be the same thing as last year, Elks Casino Night. And hopefully everybody can make it. I'm going to be getting invitations out this week. And the RSVP isn't until January 19th, I think.
Is that a Friday, Saturday night?
It's a Friday night, February 9th. And Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope you guys have a great holiday. And if you're traveling, safe travels.
Thank you.
Did the word get passed on that I think we're sponsoring the next
Yes.
county?
But they also
Dinner?
they also recommended that we do it in March or April, not February, because of the time of year with
The road conditions, right?
Yes.
road. Yep.
I'll look
So-
at the schedule.
Hmm?
I'll look at the schedule.
And a
See
few
if
of
it
us.
works.
So yeah,
A
we need,
few-
we need to, we got blamed for it. So if we not, we need to know whoever is supposed to do it or whatever. But
A few of us were wondering about maybe talking to, because they're usually on a Tuesday night, the county dinners, or somewhere like there. But is the roof only open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
They will open for
Maybe we can
private
reserve
events.
it.
any
That's
day
what
of
I
the
was.
week.
That's what we are
Yeah.
curious of.
Okay.
That would be good.
That would be a nice place. Yes,
Yeah.
it would.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll work on that.
All right, John.
So you may recall a few meetings ago I had requested to submit an application to the League of Organized Cities to represent on some policy committees when there was a primary and an alternate with community development and also the water wastewater committee. And in between the workshop and the meeting tonight, I got an announcement that I was appointed to both. So
Congratulations.
So it doesn't look to be a too arduous of a commitment. It's March through May next year, 2018. Hopefully that's acceptable to the council and doesn't cause too much distraction with other duties. But the RFQ for our EPA-funded community-wide assessment grant, $300,000 grant, it closed last Friday, Wednesday. We've received 3 proposals. Typically, when we do these RFQs, we ask a council member if they want to be a part of the evaluation committee. I guess I should have asked that in the workshop, but I think that given the timeliness of wanting to move this forward, I'm asking it now. If anybody wants to be part of it, or they just want to defer to staff. So
The RFQ for which project?
it's the community-wide assessment grant. It helps property owners have funds to do environmental assessments on their properties around the city. Super exciting.
Yeah, I
It is
mean,
very exciting, yeah.
Well, I'm just curious. So how long will these go on for? Because I'm getting ready to slow down. I'm just curious. Maybe it's something I might want to slow down as far as work-wise.
Well, it's up to 3 years.
it's ongoing, so it'd be a while, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like perfect for Rick.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Good committee for you, Rick.
So
Yeah.
I mean, would it be an issue if a person had to meet after 3:30?
You don't even really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it could be as simple as sending out the applications
Rick's volunteering.
electronically. And
Rick's volunteering.
Right. I mean, I'm happy to help because it sounds, if Rick is not there, I'm happy to help.
so this is about selecting a contractor.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the read of 3 applications and an opinion. So
Okay.
we do have some criteria. So, but that's it. Other than well wishes for the holidays. So. And
Nice.
we're a community that's on a fiscal year of June and July 30 or June 30, July 1, and I've worked in communities where it's on the calendar year, and this time of year is it's
Not
just maddening.
pleasant.
Yeah, it's so much better.
All right. Anybody want to comment? Any do-overs, so to speak?
Thanks for keeping the lid on that hearing. It was much better, Plan B, the sequel, than the first version.
I missed.
It went way better because I watched the first one on TV from home, and I said, and I had just been
Jacob
elected, and
needs
it's
to
like,
give
oh
a
my God, what have I done?
I was out of control.
That was the first council meeting I had ever watched, first hearing.
And you
It's like, what have I
still ran
done?
for office?
And that was, that was like the night after I got elected.
That was memorable.
Jacob,
And I was like, holy cow.
Jacob, are you sure you don't want to give a report? Okay. All right. We're adjourned. Merry Christmas, everybody.